Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our ISM Lunch and Learn on Sage CRM. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to their long weekend holiday, but for now, let's just sit back and enjoy as Ed Woods, our CRM specialist, presents this product. Ed, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? I know that we have a couple of people on there. I just want to make sure that I'm coming over loud and clear.
I can hear you fine.
Awesome.
If anyone does have an issue, please feel free to use the chat window if we can't hear you, and I'll be looking at that. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I kind of like sometimes I don't mind our demos to actually be kind of interactive, and so I know that you guys may be looking at Sage CRM for the first time. Some of you guys that kind of join us, they may be looking in with a new version of Sage CRM, which is 7.3 that was released a couple of months ago. So the 7.3 looks has a different look and feel to it, has the same back end, everything works exactly the same, but it just has a different look and feel. And I know some users out there are kind of looking at, okay, what does that new version actually bring? And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. But feel free anytime, if you don't want to jump on the line and ask a question, feel free to kind of type in the chat. We'll be monitoring that as well. But I'm just going to kind of get started, just have an overall Sage CRM. And we're going to take a look at some of the requirements, what it does, and then how it actually hooks up to the ERP system. So to get started with Sage CRM, if you look right here, I'm actually using Internet Explorer to actually log into Sage CRM. Sage CRM is actually a web-based application, and what that actually means is if you have it on your on-premise, so you have it with your Sage 100, then you can actually install this on a different server, and it's actually going to be coming over as a web page. So nothing really gets installed on the end user side. It is web-based, which actually has some benefits with it. With it being web-based, that means that we do have access to, let me open up we do have access to mobile utilities. So what I mean by that is their Sage CRM mobile actually works with iPads. There is an actual app that you can actually download that you can actually use Sage CRM with your iPad, as well as they have applications for your iPhone, your Windows 8 device, as well as Android. So Sage CRM, since it is web-based, you can actually set it up to work on those mobile devices. If you don't have any of those mobile devices, or say that you do have an Android tablet or a laptop that you're wanting to get access to, what Sage CRM does, since it's actually web-based, it detects what browser that you're using, what type of browser. So if it's a mobile browser, it kind of shrinks and puts everything back down so you can view it nicely on that device. So it goes across, since it's web-based, it kind of goes across multiple platforms. So to keep that in mind as we're going, some of the features here that I'm going to be showing you, like that integration with the ERP system, you'll see that you'll get the information on the mobile device. However, you're not going to be able to launch the ERP system to go ahead and put those orders and do those types of things. So I will point those out as we go. And just before we go any further, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the what it actually needs, what it runs off of. So you can see right here on the screen, this is the support matrix. It will run off of server, as well as it needs SQL Server to run, and then any operating system from Windows 7 to Windows 8, it actually works fine. It is multi-cross browser, so you can use Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, Safari. So all that actually works since it is web-based. And then the only thing I wanted to point out over here is our mobile web. It runs with the Android and Windows, and we'll kind of go from there. Just want to point that out. And then with the Sage CRM 7.3, some of the new features that actually came across, one of them that I really want to mention, again, is kind of like the new look and feel, but it also has integration with MailChimp. Before, Sage CRM actually had one integration piece with the Sage e-marketing, and they have actually opened that up. So if you guys use MailChimp to actually do some of your email marketing, it's actually compatible now and actually will integrate with Sage CRM. So far, does anybody have any questions? If not, I'll just go ahead and move forward. Okay. So here we're taking a look at Sage CRM. I'm going to go ahead and log in as a sales manager. I'm going to log in as Susan Mated. And once I actually log in, it will actually configure the screen based off of the security off of that user. So what I mean by that is if this user only has access to the sales tools, and they don't have access over to like any of the marketing or any of the cases, that will automatically will not appear up on the screen for them. It won't show that they have that. It will actually hide those items from them. So looking at Sage CRM 7.3, if you guys are familiar with 7.2, it does look a little bit different. It's a lot cleaner interface. They've moved some things around. One thing I do want to point out is right here, your navigation with 7.2 was right down the side of Sage CRM with big icons. They've actually tightened that up a little and put it up on top, as well as they put it up here on top too, so you can get, so if you're wanting a little bit more real estate, you can actually close this down and you can get to those items right up here. So what I'm actually going to do is walk through Sage CRM, what some of the benefits and features are. And so when we first log into Sage CRM, we log into this thing, it's actually called My CRM, and My CRM is actually really dedicated to the user as they log in. So some of the other CRM programs out there, so if you have ACT or if you use some other CRM, when that user logs in, sometimes it just kind of throws them into the database. Then they have to kind of search there, they have to go back over to their calendar, they kind of get lost in the day-to-day things, but because it kind of just throws them into CRM. Well, with Sage CRM, it's a little bit different. The My CRM is actually dedicated to the user. And what I mean by that is we're going to go across some of the features right over here, but we have this thing called a dashboard. And a dashboard, the user can actually set it up and dedicate it just for them. So they can customize this. They can put all their different calendar items, all their to-dos on here. If they have some leads that they're following up on, or if they're just wanting to connect with some of the customers, they can go ahead and create that within inside this dashboard, and it can be unique to them. And what this will allow them to do is, if you notice, we have My Calendar here, we also have Calendar, we have Contacts, we have Contacts. The dashboard allows you to go ahead and take that shot, that 360 look within inside Sage CRM, and I'll put it all into one place. So the user, when they log in, they don't have to go through multiple tabs to see their information. They can go here on the dashboard and they can get to that information easily. Saying this, with the dashboard, it is pretty powerful. You can customize it to look at outside data, external data. You can actually hook to that. You can also hook it up to websites if you're wanting to pull data. It also can do SSR feeds. So if you're looking, if you're wanting to grab some information from client websites and you're kind of keeping up with those feeds, it can actually post all those there. So really powerful tool with inside Sage CRM. The other thing too with administrator, if you're wanting to set with a kind of default company, then your administrator can go through here and design that dashboard and then make it available for everybody. So they can have one consistent dashboard all the way through. But one thing I do want to point out is if you kind of look over here, we can see that we have some reports that we can actually run. This can all be moved around. We have some reports that can show up here. So if you have your favorite report, you can drop it on your dashboard, as well as I've mentioned earlier, you can actually have websites that are associated on this. So my screen resolution is kind of different on there, so hopefully you guys can see it. Normally I can scan them across here, but for some odd reason it's condensing my screen down. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and go across over here. So the next thing for My CRM is our calendar. And our calendar feature allows the user to create different calendar items. Phone calls, meetings, to-dos, all listed on here on the calendar side. This calendar does synchronize with with your Outlook calendar. So if you want that, there is a plugin that you can actually install in your local machine. It will actually hook up to CRM, pull all those appointments over from Sage CRM, sync them with your Outlook calendar, and all those Outlook calendar items, it will actually synchronize and pull it with inside Sage CRM. So you can have one calendar, one default calendar, and it will synchronize both places. One thing I really like about the Sage CRM calendar is instead of having just a calendar view that has all of your information on there, it does kind of split it out. Again, this is kind of a preference that you can set, but the way that it shows up on the screen right here is a calendar set in one item. So I have all my timed phone calls, meetings, to-dos on the left-hand side of the calendar, and then on my right side right here, I have all my tasks. So this is all my things that I need to do, but they're not really timed. So for an example right here, I need to call Billy regarding a conference call, or if I need to, remind me to say happy birthday to somebody, I can go ahead and drop that on my task. It will stay different away from my calendar items, so I know that, hey, I need to go through this and I need to check them off as I go. So overall, if you're wanting to change the kind of look on that, we can actually say, show me my list view on this. It will actually bring in a list view, or I can bring back over into the calendar, or I can actually just say, go ahead and show me the calendar, and the calendar will go ahead and take over on that. So over here, as I go through some of these tabs, you'll see that our action items are right here on the side. So here I'm filtering out the calendar from all my pending appointments, but if I wanted to see all my completed items on my calendar, I can actually filter that out and bring that in. So as we start to progress through the demo here, you can actually see some of the features, or the filters will show up here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next tab, which is called Contacts. And Contacts is actually a pretty unique area for Sage CRM. Typically, inside the Sage CRM, you have an area that when you log into, all of your contacts are kind of associated. If you're wanting to see your contacts, you're going to have to create different groups for them to see them. And then if you're trying to create a call list off that, then you're going to have to kind of take your contacts off as you progress down that call list. Well, one thing with Sage CRM, we have this tab that's under My CRM. Again, this is dedicated for the individual user that logs in. They can actually create their own little contact list. And what this could be is a hot list. Well, these are the contacts that I need to touch base with this week. Again, they can be a calendar item that can be on their calendar, but if this is something that you're wanting to make sure that you touch on your hot customers that we're wanting to deal with. So for an example, Janet is somebody that I need to touch base with this week. I'm just going to put it up there. Instead of going and kind of setting a reminder, then have to go into my calendar, it flags me, and then I have to go and find that customer. What this allows me to do is tag Janet on my list. Then within one click, I can get down to Janet's information. So I'm clicking on Janet, it takes me automatically to her record. We can see the icon right here is a person record. I can see all of her information here. I can give her a call, and then of course some of these tabs across the top I'll go ahead and talk about here in a little bit as soon as we drill down into the contact record. But here I can make some communications. I can get the phone numbers, I can get everything, and then I can actually go all the way back over to my contact list. If this is something that I made contact with and I don't want it on my list anymore, I can go ahead and say remove my contact, and then remove selected. It's going to say, do you want to remove this? Yes, and then automatically kind of pulls it off the screen. Again, this is something that you can actually build and put a list together, but it's just more or less kind of a hot screen that you can actually work with, a hot list. Again, something that you can work with. So what I mean by that is I can actually have groups and contacts. So if I say I want to go ahead and add a group, I want to go ahead and add a group for all the people I'm account manager for. So okay, click, then it actually will update and bring all those contacts back in. So a pretty nice feature just to get to your contacts a lot faster. So my next one that I'm going to be going to is leads. And leads is another unique function of Sage CRM that I don't see too many in other CRM programs. This is actually a really nice feature that they have, and this will allow you to grab leads that you have from a trade show or from a website or those cards that you're getting, those business cards that you get. This allows you to actually create and pull them into an area that's not really associated with your database, with your existing customers. So for an example, if I go to a trade show and I buy a list or I get a list of 3,000 people, typically on a Sage CRM, on a CRM product, kind of like ACT or something along that level, if you're wanting to bring that 3,000 list in, then you have to do an import in on the back end, bring them in, you have to tag them as being a prospect or a trade show, and then when they get imported in, they get mixed in with all of your other contacts that's inside that database. So if you're wanting to look up your current customers, then you have to do a lot of filters to get down to that. Is this a current customer or is this a prospect? Well, Sage CRM does something a little bit different. They have a holding container that they call leads. You can actually import this in. The 3,000 leads, you can actually work on them. There's a workflow that goes behind the system, which I'll show you here in a few minutes. You can work on them, and if they turn into a potential opportunity, then you can actually forward that into your main database area. But if not, say that you work on this and you had an import of 3,000, 1,000 is just dead. You're not going to be doing anything with them, but 2,000 actually end up turning over and you have some opportunities with them. Those 2,000 can be imported into your database, your actual database, and the 1,000 can actually be deleted, or they can actually be kind of set on hold in this container, so you can see who's in there, and then you can do some marketing to it to see if you can eventually turn that 1,000 back into an actual opportunity. So saying that, I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can enter a new lead in the system. Again, this can actually be imported in. So if you do have a list, it will take anything from an Excel spreadsheet, from a text document, or a CSV, and you do a little bit of mapping. It will save the mapping, and then you can import it over. Nice if you go to the same trade shows over and over and you have the same exact Excel spreadsheet or something that you end up getting. It's going to be like 4 or 5 clicks, and you can actually import the data back into CRM. So it's actually really nice. So I'm going to create a new lead here to show you what it looks like. I'm going to create a new lead. With inside, it's going to ask me, it does some detection on the back end. So it's asking me for some information automatically when I type in ISM and my last name of Woods. It will actually search back into that lead area to see if that lead's already in here. If it does, it will actually tell you that there's a matching lead in there, and if you just want to edit that lead instead of actually having duplicates inside the system. I'm going to say enter lead. I'm going to type in the description. Oops. Demo. Anything with the asterisk is considered to be required. Sage CRM has that required before you can actually move on. You can actually change and adjust those fields or required fields. Also on the screen right here, some of these fields, you can actually add to them or you can actually take away. So for an example, if you don't want to use source, then you can actually edit source, change it to something else that actually pertains to your company, or if you have another field that you're wanting to capture, Sage CRM allows you to do that, and I'll show you guys that a little bit later on. So here I'm going to say this is from a trade show. I'm going to type in some details here. I just want this to kind of stand out. When it was open, what are they interested in? They're actually interested in some training. It's assigned to Susan May. That's who I'm currently logged in at. Also, we have teams, which I haven't touched on, but Sage CRM allows you to do things in teams. So if you do have a sales team, or if you have a telesales team, you can actually assign it to that team, and this contact will actually appear on all the different things that's associated with that team. So it's really nice if a salesperson actually goes on vacation and the lead is actually assigned to a team. The team can actually pick up that lead at any time they want to and start working on that. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the required information here real quick. Make sure there's no other requirements. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. Okay, So if I back up here, I'm going to go back over into my CRM, and we're going to go back over to the leads. You can see once actually a lead is entered, we do have a pipeline that will actually appear. And you can actually see this here. What happens behind the scenes is you can set up a workflow. I'm in the workflow area for leads. And so you can actually customize this to fit your company's needs. So what this will allow me to do is once I actually start a lead, it will actually want to be assigned. I can actually rate it or reject it. I can close it, or I can actually rate it. So here I can have a little workflow that I can work this lead through so to progress it to the next stage. So instead of having a little area that you collect all these different names and phone numbers and nobody follows up on it, well, within this we have a workflow area that's always constantly wants you to work on this lead, asking you the next question, and promotes you working on this lead to make it an opportunity. And what I mean by that is if I go back over here into leads, this has been assigned. I assigned it to myself. If I want to come in here and make some additional information, if I click on the description, brings us in here, and now I have that workflow right over here on the lower right-hand corner. It's asking me some questions. What is your next action that you're wanting to do with this? I can actually reassign the lead if it doesn't really belong to me or it belongs into a different territory. I can go ahead and edit the lead, make additional information, or I can actually rate the lead, and that's what I'm going to do in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and rate the lead, and then it's going to come over and ask me what the rating is. So of course I'm going to have to call the customer and kind of ask them some questions, get some details. So say if this is actually a B rating of a lead, when are they thinking about buying? So here's 1 to 3 months. I can also make additional notes on here and actually click on save. And then I have some other action items that comes back over here. I can create a callback. I can change the rating so if they automatically drop. But the reason why Sage CRM wants to know this is behind the scenes. I'm going to kind of skip through a couple of these tabs over here. I'm going to go over here to tracking. Behind the scenes, Sage CRM is actually collecting data on how long it's actually setting in each of those different areas. So if you do an import in from the leads, so that 1,000 actually comes in, and somebody actually does start making phone calls on them, and they only get about 500 through, and they leave the other 2,500 alone, then you can actually see where they left off at. Of course, you can see when it comes in and when it's being assigned and anything that gets done. So if I come back over into this opportunity and I change it again, so I'm going to change the rating, come back over here into AA, same thing, save. Our tracking keeps track of that. So anytime that this is actually being updated. What's also really nice about this too is if something gets stuck into a area for a certain amount of time, there's notifications that Sage CRM can actually do. So if I import these leads in to Sage CRM and they're sitting here more than 3 weeks and nobody has touched them, then I can actually have an on-screen notification pop up on my screen that says, hey, you need to work on these leads. So it kind of promotes the user to go in here and start working on this. So when I go back, I'm going to go back over to the summary page. I want to go ahead and kind of show you a couple of these other tabs across here. Apologize, we've actually installed Sage CRM in 2 places, but it looks like the new version didn't like it. We have it in our production area, and then I actually installed it again as a demo, and now it's coming up and saying it's on the registered version. So apologize for that, but I want to show you a couple of things on the screen. Right here on top, this kind of gives us a little overview of what's going on in each of those tabs. So once I go through these tabs, you'll see that this kind of just gives you a kind of a guidance. You know, this is what it's looking for. This is what you need to do. So if I jump back over into the Notes tabs, you'll see the Notes. Well, of course, Notes doesn't have one, but Communications, everything will actually pop up and show you what you need to be doing with this, inside this tab. So the Notes area allows you to create notes. This is something that you're wanting to check on. Say, this is Ed. I met Ed at the trade show. Pretty nice guy. You can go ahead and drop a note inside here to actually say that. A little bit different from the communication side. communication side is a call, meeting, phone call to do, and this will allow you to capture that information, and it's 100% reportable. So if you're wanting to create a report and say, what is the activity of my salesperson this week, what did they do? If they go back into the communications and they type in those phone calls, meetings, to-dos, it will automatically show up on the report. And again, we kind of went through tracking over here, and I'll show you how these kind of work as soon as we get into the company side of things. So tracking, again, kind of tracks where that's at. And then we have relationships. Relationships is an area that we can create. So for an example, if you went to a trade show and you're dealing with a corporate company, but that corporate company actually has a couple of sibling companies. So you end up talking to one of the sibling companies, and they said, yes, we're interested, but you're going to have to go through the main company. This is where we can actually create a hierarchy to show that, okay, they may be ISM, but you're going to have to go to A, B, and C company to actually talk and actually get the order from, or the purchase order could be coming through the A, B, and C company. So it kind of gives you a little bit hierarchy that you can actually see instead of calling on the customer and knowing that that you're working with some parent company instead of just a sibling company as well. So that is leads. What I want to do is kind of take you over into the opportunity area. And again, I'm actually still on my CRM. This is really dedicated to the individual user that logs in. And within my opportunity, you can see that I have a little bit more information in here based off this demo than we did on the lead side. So here you can see the workflow already kind of kicking in here. It's in a couple of stages already. So when your salesperson actually logs in and they're working for some opportunities, then they can actually see where they can actually move through. Again, this is also associated with a different workflow that I mentioned earlier. Here's our workflow. I'm going to go back one step over here into our workflow. And this is on the administrator side. I can show you how to get there in a few. So if we go back into the opportunity workflow, you can see that we have our own set of different states that this opportunity can be in, and then our different kind of rules that's associated with that. So when it comes in, we can create a new opportunity. We can actually qualify it. We can send a proposal out. From here, from qualify, we can actually go back over to a demo, or we can actually say, since we sent a proposal out, we can automatically go to negotiation. And you can see that kind of jumps back and forth all the way to, so until you get to the end. And at the end, it wants to know, did we sell this or did we lose this? At each of them, they ask you a question. You know, if you sold it, then you can mark it off as being won, and you're good to go. If you actually close it, it will ask you, did you win this or did we lose this? If you say we lost this, then it's going to say, why did we lose this? Was it pricing? Was it product? And so now you can start gathering some information that those opportunities that kind of slip through your hands, now you can actually start getting some reasons why they're slipping through the hands. So kind of a nice feature, but I'm going to go back over here since we're looking at the workflow. I'm going to show you what this kind of looks like on the user side. So here we have the qualified proposal submitted, negotiation, sales agreed. So as a salesperson logging in the morning, I can go into my CRM, pull up my opportunities, and I can say, well, I want to see what's my qualified items are. Automatically takes me back out, gives me my forecast, gives me all my numbers here, and now I can actually look through these to know that this is what I need to move forward. They're qualified, but I haven't done anything else with them. So here I'm going to click on this 100 user license. It will bring me back over to the summary page. Inside the summary page, I can see what's going on. At any time, if I need to change or update the data, I can go ahead and hit the change. It opens up all my fields, so I can actually change that. I'm going to hit cancel here. And then we have our area that we have our quotes. So if we have sent out a quote to them, it will actually show up there. Orders, if they've actually ordered something under this opportunity, will actually show up here. This is also integrated with Sage 100, and I will show you that when we actually get down into the company record on how to actually enter orders. It will automatically promote inside Sage 100. So from here, I just want to show you that I can say that I'm going to go ahead and reassign this one. I've been working on it. I can't seem to fit it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it back over to John Finch here. So I'm going to go ahead and reassign it, put in my tracking notes here, and I'll go ahead and save that across. Once I actually do that, if I go back over into the opportunities screen, you can see it's been updated, it's been pulled off of my area, and it's also been put on John's, and then I can continue working on this. So if I need to go over to proposal, proposal submitted to check on those items. So if there's been a quote out there and it's been out there for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I just want to do a follow-up, this is a good way I can do this. I can actually take a look at here, jump in here, I can make my notes, or I can actually set additional appointments. So training course, if I need to do a follow-up call with them, I can go into my communications. I can say I'm going to create a new appointment. So this is for GateCom with Simon, automatically pulls in what it's actually about. Call, I'm not going to fill in too many details here, but just going to show you what this can actually do. I do have my calendar function that I can schedule this out for next Friday. And then from there, if I'm adding anybody else from my company, it automatically shows their calendar right here. So for an example, if I'm adding an extra team member, so say that Fred's going to be on this call with me, I want Fred to be on this call, I can go ahead and click Add Fred. It will actually show me Fred's availability in his calendar to if he's available or not. And I apologize, my time frame on my server is a lot different than what our current time frame is here. I need to fix that. So from here, I can go ahead and create this appointment. I'm going to save it across. And you can see that all of a sudden now there's 2 phone calls on the list, one for me and then one for Fred that actually comes through. So here's the user comes up here. It will actually show those on the screen. What's really nice about this, so if I actually end up making the call but Fred didn't, then you can actually see who's associated with those. So anything that's over here that's in green, it's hyperlinked back. I can go back over to the company record if I need to see something. Again, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but I'm going to go back to the opportunities, and this is how we can actually go through these opportunities. So we have the workflow that's actually associated with that. So our next tab over here is forecast. If you guys are into forecasting numbers, this is an area that you can actually type in your forecast. I'm not going to go in detail on this, but once you actually set your forecast numbers, they will actually show up here weighted versus whatever area that you'll see that's associated with these different areas. It will kind of give you a calculation of where you're at if that one actually closes. So our next item that we have over here is cases, and cases is more like kind of a troubleshooting ticket or a ticket. So what this is if you actually sell a widget and the widget is defective or it gets lost in shipping or it gets something and you have a customer that actually calls and says, I want an RMA for this or I need to follow up on this, the cases area, you can create a ticket for that and you can actually follow it through its own workflow as well. So with inside Sage CRM, you have your leads, your opportunities, and your cases that you can create custom workflows. So if you do have an issue with a widget that went out and the customer's calling, you can create a brand new case inside the system, have a ticket, and then you can have its workflow as it kind of goes through the system of, okay, A, we need to send an RMA out, B, we need to receive a product in, C, we need to Q&A the product that just came back in. If it's replaceable, then we have to send out another item. So you can actually set up your A, B, and C, D all the way through. And now that, that you have that inside the system, then when the customer actually calls, you can actually just pull up cases and find out where that ticket or that issue is inside the system. And it's pretty nice, especially when you're in sales and you're calling on your customer. When we get down to that, the company details, you will see that we can see cases and opportunities right on one of the top screens. So when I make a phone call, I can see overall what the customer is doing. It gives me kind of an overview of the customer overall instead of have to drill down to each of these areas. I'm going to go ahead and move along here. We have shared documents as our next tab, and what this allows you to do is create an area that you can actually drop in different quote forms if you want to, different specifications, different things that you want to share out with the whole company. What this is great for is if you guys have a document or a company share on your server and you do actually drop different specifications for your product, or you have different kind of documents that you typically send out to the customer. Sometimes what happens is you may have different reversions of that, so it may be updated a couple of times. So your revisions may be out there, so you may have an A or B or C, and sometimes the users get confused, okay, which one do I send out? Within Sage CRM, we have this documents area that administrator can drop all these on there. They can retire documents. They can actually drop documents on there and saying, hey, this is for internal use only, just kind of FYI, or hey, go ahead and send this out. This one's a final. Go ahead and send this one out to the customer. You can also go through and filter some of these things as in types. Well, what are we looking for? Is this a brochure? Is this a contract that we're going to be sending out? Is this a proposal list? Is this a form that we use that we have to send out to the customer? Again, that's all can be contained inside Sage CRM at one place. What's really nice about this is if you go to email your customer, the first thing that Sage CRM is going to do is if you say I want to attach, it's going to go over to the shared documents area, and it's going to want to pull some of those documents from this area, which is actually pretty nice. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go back through. So our next tab that we have here is our preference tabs, and again, we're still under My CRM. This is dedicated to the individual user when they log in. How do you want Sage CRM to behave when you log in? So by default, it's set to my dashboard. If I want to automatically go to my calendar, I can say Sage CRM, I want to go ahead and go to my calendar over here. I'm wanting to see when I have an email that comes through, how do I want to see the email screen? Do I want it to pop up? Do I want it to be normal? This is where we can see all that information that comes back through on that. Also, too, I'm going to go ahead and cancel here. This is also where you can install that Outlook integration piece that I mentioned earlier. So if you want that integration with Sage CRM to Outlook, this is where they actually click the install. It will install into your Outlook. You'll have that hook that comes back and forth, and you can actually see that. Since this is actually kind of set up that you can have people outside of the company, this is where my server's a little off. You can see right here that when we log in, what our time zone is actually set to and where I'm actually set up from. This allows you to, if you have people out in the field that kind of roam around and they do things, they can set up their calendar and say, this is my time zone. So when you actually put an appointment in there, it will actually adjust for their time zones. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is go into our groups. Our groups area is an area that you can actually create different groups for your salespeople. So for an example, over here, our first group we have is all of our California leads. So I can actually click on this and just get a list really quick of everybody, which is there 18 leads currently inside the system that is set for the California area. So you can create a group really fast, and this allows you to go ahead and use that MailChimp or that email solution, or you can actually create multiple appointments if you're wanting to put that on your schedule. I'm going to go and visit this area in California, for an example. I'm going to want to touch base with all these customers. I can go ahead and create a list, and I can actually export this out if I need to take it with me, or I can keep this in the group that if I am actually on my mobile device out there, if I open up my laptop out in the field, that I can get back over to this group and I can look at it easy instead of always have to filter those back out. So I can save any of my filters back into a group. Okay, that is all for my CRM when the user actually logs in. But what I want to show you too is we actually have the team. Not going to go in full details on here, but if you're associated with a team, then I can actually click on my team features. So now I'm looking at a team email. Sorry, that's kind of, there we go. So right here, I'm looking at direct sales. I can actually go to telesales or all my teams. I can see what's going on with them. Also, if I'm working on leads and I'm wanting to see what type of leads are in that team, I can say all teams. I don't think I have any. Oh, I do have some leads in there. So here I can see all the different leads that are associated with the different companies. So although I logged in as Susan May, which was an account manager, I wasn't on a team that actually works with those leads. That's how come they didn't appear for me. There is some security behind the scenes that actually happens. So here you can see overall the leads. And then since it's on a team level, I can actually click back into it and drill back down. So we have all that for all these other features that I mentioned a little bit earlier. We also have reporting, which I will show in a few. And then we have our marketing, which I will kind of cover a little bit later too, if we have time. So where do we find all of our customers? What do we, how do we get the information? Over here, this is a new for 7.3. With inside 7.2, if you're familiar with it, you had a button right over here that you can click and say find. They actually moved that over here in 7.3. So if I click this little magnifying glass, I can find any company, person, case, opportunity, lead, etc. through the whole system. So here I'm going to show company. We're going to talk about company record on this side this time. On the company side, we can actually see all the information that comes, the filter information comes back through. This can actually be customized to fit whatever your guys' needs are. If you're looking for address, notice address is not on here. Sage CRM can actually add, we can actually add this on here. It's not a big deal to customize this screen right here. So I'm just going to hit find. It gives me a list of the customers that we need to kind of deal with. So I'm going to click on A&Z Carpet Supply. I'm going to drill down into theirs. I'm going to click on just on their company name over here. Drills me back down. Gives me an icon, lets me know that I'm in a company record, and then gives me some additional tabs that I can actually walk through here, just like I did earlier on my CRM, and it gives me some information over here on the summary page. One thing that I do have to say is a lot of the screens do look the same, and so you'll see that they have an icon so you know which module that you're actually in. So here we can see that the A&Z Carpet is actually associated with an integration of ERP. It's actually associated with A, B, and C company, which is one of our demo companies. You can actually have multi-company. So if you do have in Sage 100, if you have an A, B, and C company and you have an XYZ company, Sage CRM will actually import both of those companies in and will keep them separate. One of the things I do want to show you with this is we do have some detail in here. We do have, it's pulling this information from Sage 100. So if I actually hit change over here, you'll notice that I can't update that information because it's actually pulling it from the ERP system. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that. I want to show you a couple of features in here. Here gives us our addresses, and it gives us the main contact over here. If you notice, we have an address, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as being the actual address on this company. And just going to point out, we have customer maintenance screen here. This is where it actually integrates with the ERP system. This feature right here, of course, is not going to be available on your iPad or if you're out in the field because it will actually need the ERP system installed on your local system to use. So if we actually click on some of these integration pieces, you'll see that Sage 100 actually pops up. But if something has been changed within inside Sage 100, so for example, I'm going to take this and say that they moved, they're not really in a suite anymore. I'm going to save this across. Since this is web-based, I'm just going to toggle off the screen, toggle back onto it, and you'll see that it's actually been updated. So once the data is actually set up to synchronize, if the data has been changed, phone addresses, everything else is actually synchronizing with Sage, it will actually update it in both places. This can actually be turned on, that it can be pulled from one place and not the other. We did have one customer say that we have a lot of salespeople that kind of go in and make changes to customers or phone numbers, but we don't want that updated in mass. With the integration piece, this will allow you to actually set that up so you can always pull from Sage 100 and push into CRM. So it can be a one-way or it can actually be a two-way sync. So kind of moving forward on here, we do have the summary screen, like I mentioned before. It gives us our main contacts, some information, again, straight across. A lot of this information is going to be kind of duplicate across, but allows you to get to it quickly. So for example, if I wanted to click on addresses, it automatically takes me over to the address tab right over here, so I can get to it, as well as the contact takes me over to the people tab. But I'm going to go through really quick here on the top and see what kind of information that you can actually pull from the company to be able to have communications back over to this company, to actually create this relationship that you do with this company. So again, we're actually on A to Z carpet supply. So we have our first one is a quick look, and this is why I can kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. If you do have phone calls, meetings, to-dos, or if you do have an opportunity, or if you do have multiple cases that you're working on a customer and you're wanting to make sure that you take a look at those before you call, this quick look tab, and I apologize, I chose a wrong customer. They don't have any data in here, but this will actually give you a list of all those things that's really being active with this customer. So if I do have outstanding communications, or if I just had a meeting with them, it will actually show it here. If there's any open opportunities, I can see it here. And again, if there's any problems, or if they actually submitted a ticket inside the system because of an issue or RMA, that will actually show up here. So the quick look allows you to actually grab that information really quick. Also, too, they added a dashboard. This is kind of, they had this in 7.2, and it's actually kind of nice. They have a dashboard, just like the dashboard on my CRM. You can actually create a dashboard, and you can actually look at all those in more details. Or if you're, with that quick look tab, gives you like the last 5. This one, you can actually go on whatever you have in the system, you can actually go back in. So here we have the company contacts. We do have social media add-ins, if you will, if you like those. This one right here is in LinkedIn. I can actually hook this to my LinkedIn account. If I actually click on this, then I can actually pull up Alan record, and I can see what he's up to. Also, they do have a Yammer integration, as well as a Facebook integration, if you guys actually do that as well. Those are actually out on the Sage CRM site. You can actually click on them and install them. They install fairly well. They're available. I just did not add that part over here to add to that social media, because as soon as I do that, it's going to want some logins. So I'm going to go over here and key attributes and marketing. This is a couple of tabs that you can actually grab some information. So if you're wanting to do some marketing and you know that your salespeople are actually going to be calling on A to Z carpet, they could actually come over here and fill out some marketing information. Do they already have a CRM included? Yes. What's their IT budget? Who's their current supplier? Everything that you can actually grab for marketing purposes, you can actually see that here. And then they can actually say, I'm going to go ahead and cancel. So we can just kind of move on. Here is an area that we can create notes. Here, let me go back to a customer that I know actually has some data. So I'm going to go ahead and click over here. I'm going to type in gate for GateCom. So here's a GateCom. I'm going to click on GateCom. Again, shows us we're over here. I'm going to go back over to the notes. Nope, there's no notes for GateCom. I know there's communications. Yes, there's communications. So here's a note that we can actually create. So if I say new note, I'm going to show you this because this is actually a pretty cool feature. Company. Oops, company level. So I'm creating a note on a company level. I'm going to go ahead and save this across. We can see that this is Susan May created this note on the company level. And I'll come back to this and show you why I actually did this here in a few. So we have our communications tabs. This will show us all of our phone calls, meetings, to-dos that we had, even the ones that are associated with our calendar function over here in my CRM. If they actually belong to GateCom, they will actually show up here. So you can see, again, some of that filtering is going to happen over here. I'm only looking at pending, but if I want to say I want to see all my communications on here, I want to filter that out. that will actually filter out. Now we can see we have 39 different communications with that. So what's actually really nice with this filtering, I can actually filter through and get the information what I'm looking for fairly quickly. If I know that it was only a, say if it was a phone in, that's what I was looking for, I'm going to filter that, and now I can see all the phone calls that they have actually called in. So this was a call from Simon. I can see that it came back in here. And then we had another one that David actually called back in as well. So we can actually filter those out and get to those really quickly. Any opportunities? We're on the company level again. So if you look over here, we're in GateCom. We see the company. You can see on the opportunities, what we were looking before was my CRM opportunities. That was all the opportunities it was associated with my user when I logged in. Now, since we're on the company level, I can actually see all the different opportunities that we're dealing with that company. So that may be, you know, somebody that Fred's working on, something that I'm actually working on as being Susan May, or somebody else in your company. If they're working on multiple opportunities, they will actually appear all in one screen here, so you can actually go through those fairly quickly and find what you need. So we have that as well as cases. So if there's any existing cases that they have, they will actually show up here, just like the opportunities. And then our next tab over here is our people level. So we have, the way that Sage CRM is kind of set up is we have a hierarchy of companies, and then we have people associated with that. One thing that's really nice is if you add contacts and you add the main company, anything that you do on the contact level automatically gets carried up to the company level. And what I mean by that, so I was going to show you really quick, is I went into the note area inside GateCom and I made a note, but now I'm going to drill down to Simon. So say that I had a phone call, or if I want to make a note under Simon, I click on it, you can tell that I'm actually in Simon's, the person tab, because you can see the little person here. I can see this is person, GateCom, here's some information, but I'm going to go over here to the notes. Note on person. Oops. So if I type note on person, I can go ahead and save that here. So today Susan May actually made it note on person. The reason why I want to show you that is if I go back up to GateCom and we go back into those notes, you can see anything that's actually carried down, even though it's on Simon's notes, you'll see it in Simon notes as well. It brings it back up to the hierarchy of the company. So if we go into the company record, we can see overall everything that's going on. So if you even have a company that you have 15 or 20 contacts associated with it, you don't have to go and drill down to those 15 contacts just to get to the information. If you actually make a note, meeting, phone call, to do, opportunity, a case, everything from that level gets carried up to the main company level. So which is actually really nice. So we're back on GateCom. We just went to the person tab. I'm just going to show you again. This is also being associated with Sage 100. So if you do have your contacts inside Sage 100, those can actually be pulled over as well. And they can be synchronized from CRM into Sage 100. Same thing with addresses. We have multiple addresses or ship tos. If we want to make sure that we have that information in both places, we can actually set that up so it will actually synchronize and pull that information. So again, one place you actually add data, it will be synchronized in both places. We have our phone and email. This is on the company level that you can actually go. Of course, on the person level, you have your own tabs, which we'll talk about. And then we have company and team. So if there's a team that's actually working on this company, you can actually see it here and being socialized with that. So you can see that everything's there. So here's our documents. So if you attach any documents to GateCom, this is where you will actually see those. So you don't have to go back through all those different appointments and see those. You can actually see them here. So if you did do a quote with that and you dropped it in there, this will actually show up here. SelfService, I'm probably going to talk about for a few seconds, but probably not going to go in detail. Self-service is actually a feature of Sage CRM. You have to be at least on Sage CRM 200 version to actually get this to work. But what you do is actually have a mini website that you can actually embed into your website, or you can actually create its own page. And this will allow the users to actually log in with a username and password, and you can give them the option to create the tickets, those cases. So instead of having somebody that's taking a customer service person that's taking all those phone calls or all those emails, this can actually be turned around to allow the customer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If they have an issue with your product or issue in general, they can actually log into that little portal and they can actually create a ticket inside the system, which we can have it flagged over to the customer service team, which they can follow up on, and then you can progress through your workflow. So if you're taking that step A, step B, step C, you'll start working through. But what's really nice is the customer, say in 2 days, oh, what's going on with this case? Of course, they can always pick up the phone and call your customer service team, or they can actually log back into the portal, and the portal will actually give them an update on where this actual case is. So if they already went through, the workflow A, B, and C, it's on D, the product's ready to ship back out because it was an RMA, it was a defective product, then they can actually see that that shipment is ready to be shipped back out again. So they can actually follow up on that. Kind of a nice feature. And then just like I showed in the other tab, we do have relationships. So now you can see that Gatecom is also owned by a couple of other companies, but they're also associated with some other companies here too, with A&W Services. And then also Gatecom also deals with they own these other companies. So you can see how the hierarchy kind of goes in that. So what I want to do is let's go over to a mass. This customer right here was not a Sage 100 customer. So I'm going to find a Sage 100 customer and want to walk you through an order. So I'm going to type in American. There we go. Now we can see right here that it's associated here. So one other tab that you can get that if it is associated with a Sage 100, you have that link. It's pulling data back and forth. Is we do have the customer maintenance, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, that you can actually pull up any of the memos that are being associated with them in Sage 100 will actually pop up here. If I click OK, it will bring open the customer maintenance screen. Since I am a manager, I have access to change all this information. This right here, security is based off of the user security. And what I mean by that is if you don't want your users to go inside the system and make some changes inside mass, then you can take that away from them, and then most of those fields will be grayed out. They won't be able to go in there and change that. But this is a nice area that if you're wanting to look at what's open on sales orders, they can actually click on here, or transactions, what's been made. Of course, you also have some invoices. However, if they don't have that security to go in there and do that, we also have this tab over here. It's called Inquiries. And Inquiries allows a user that doesn't have access to go and find that information. So for an example, if I'm wanting to see what's on sales order, I can go ahead and click on this. It will open up its business insights, and then now I can actually see all the different orders that I have and all the products that are actually on these orders. I'm going to go ahead and close this. If I want to look at the open invoice, I can pull up the invoice and then see what's actually when the payments were on. So again, that's on the Inquiries tab right across from there. So I'm going to go back to the company level. And then the newer thing that's actually just came out for 7.3, which is actually really nice, we're talking about cases, is we get to do an RMA entry. So from here, I can actually start creating some MRAs. So we can actually pull those back. Okay, and then I know that we're getting close to our time here. Just wanted to see if there's any questions out there. Oops. There is a question I didn't say.
Those questions were for me, Ed. So I've got all the chat windows handled.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions on Sage CRM? Please feel free to ask.
Okay, our question is, if we're using Outlook for our email, can we link it to the Sage CRM?
So yes, that's actually a great question. So the way that, I'll kind of point this out over here. So if we have our People's tab in here, and I actually try to, I'm going to hit an email, you can actually set up Sage CRM to email out straight from Sage CRM. So if you have any templates or if you have anything that you're wanting to use, you can actually do that from here. But if you notice, right when I do that, I can actually send over to Outlook. So when I do that, if I generate it from Sage CRM, I can say send it through Outlook. It will automatically open up my Outlook, drop the information in, and then I can hit send. That case, I can see that it goes into my outbox. If you have an email that's actually associated, that's actually inside Outlook, and you want to tag it back into Sage CRM, once you actually install that plugin, you'll actually have an icon on top that says send to Outlook. I'm sorry, send to CRM. You click on that, and it will actually go based off of the email address. It will search Sage CRM for that email address and then automatically tag it inside Sage CRM. If it cannot find it, it will ask you, where do you want to send this? Is there another company, or do you want to create a new contact to tag this inside Sage CRM? So yeah, you can have it, you will actually pull that information. If you have an incoming through your Outlook, there is a button that says attach to CRM. So you can actually highlight that email and say, go ahead and attach. And that will actually bring it inside CRM as well.
So you'd have a copy in both places?
Correct.
Go ahead and both places.
Any other questions?
There should be. It's just a lot to absorb. The questions will come later after we process the information.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? That's perfectly fine, because when those questions come up, please feel free to reach out to me, Sherry Palumbo, your account manager, at AM for account manager. Hi. AM for account manager at goism.com. So any questions that come up, please feel free to send them to me. I'll bounce them off Ed and get you all the answers that you need. We're always looking for suggestions. Go ahead.
Can I ask the money question?
Ed?
How much per user?
I do believe, and again, I'm not the money guy, so I don't know. I'm usually the guy that installs it. I do believe, I know that they
just had a price increase. That's why I don't have the number off the top of my head. Sage just had a price increase as of May 1st. Is this Gary who's asking a question?
No.
Oh, it's Jeff Plummer.
I'm with.
Oh, hi, Jeff. How are you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm with Sarah. I'm good.
Yeah, I didn't see your name on the list. So, Jeff, let me get that pricing for you, and I can email it out to you. They have a new price list. I've got to pull it out and get that pricing. I'll also send you, ISM has a special setup offer that we do, so I can also send that to you as well.
Okay, because it was my understanding that the Sage CRM is actually going to be part of the Sage 100 Advance.
With the Sage product, you do get one CRM user at this time. So CRM is integrated regardless of advanced or standard, correct?
I do believe so, yes.
Yes. So, and you do get one free CRM user with your Sage product. So you would need to be looking at additional users and implementation.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll look forward to that information.
Yeah, I'll send that off to you this afternoon.
This is Gary. I do have a question, and that is, I've heard and seen that Sage is partnering with Salesforce. How is that going to play out with the different, the Sage CRM that's the version that's there today?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is that partnership with Salesforce, is that only going to be a web-based, cloud-based product, or?
As far as I'm aware, and what I hear, that is correct. It's only going to be a web-based portion of that. As an integration, I have not seen it personally myself, but I hear that it's not going to be like a full integration piece, just like they have with Sage CRM and Sage 100 at this point.
Okay, because we've just initiated our quote free attached version of the CRM, and I know that it's very pricey for additional users, to the tune of a little over $1,000. But then we recently heard of this integration with Salesforce, and so we're just right now just testing the waters with that free version to see what how we want to proceed forward.
Okay. And I can try to find out some additional information on that. I know that's kind of new for us as well. I know that Sage actually kind of mentioned that they're starting to do this, but they didn't give us enough of details to find out how it actually integrates and how it's supposed to work.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it just came out like a week ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe two. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, perfect. Okay, fine. So I've got a little bit of homework to do for a few of you, and I'll be getting that information out to you. We do post these webinars to our YouTube channel. I'm not quite sure exactly how fast this can be posted, but I will convert it this afternoon and get in touch with our marketing team to ask them if they can get this out there as soon as possible. I do know that we do have some other older videos out there, as well as on our website for CRM, but they're not this newest version, which Ed has done today. So I'm going to try and get this posted up as soon as possible. Any further questions?
Oh, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Well, Ed, I thank you for that wonderful presentation. Everyone, I thank you for taking your time out of your day to come and join our webinars. Our June list of webinars is going to be going out next Tuesday, so look for that after the holiday. And in the meantime, enjoy your long holiday weekend. Thank you, everyone.
You too. And Sherry, if you could push that payroll one through, that would be great.
Yeah, I've actually already sent an email on that. I believe we do cover it in our What's New in 2015. I'm asking if it can be expanded on, so I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
you.
Thank you.